Hello, in this last video we're going to see how we can use Webpack to load CSS, and that just involves expanding our configuration, and with that we're able to even quickly bring in external CSS like Bootstrap. So let's go ahead and get started. So in the Webpack documentation, there's actually a whole asset management guide. I'd recommend, if you want to learn more about Webpack, you can see how you can load different things like fonts or images or even data. But for now, we're going to work on CSS. So in order to do that, we need we need to expand our Webpack configuration with some different modules. And so we're going to go ahead and follow the guide for loading CSS, and it's got this npm install. We're basically going to install two new dependencies, dev dependencies, style loader and CSS loader. And these loaders, these modules, are basically chunks of functionality that can be hooked up to Webpack. Our Webpack configuration is going to change to add a new key. So inside of our config, we're going to go and add this module key, and inside module there is this rules key. And so the rules describe the files that we're going to be touching and what loaders we should be using with those files. And we have this weird looking test here. This is basically just using regex to detect any CSS files, and when it does, it's going to go ahead and run the style loader and the CSS loader. So what does that mean? I will show you. Inside of our source folder, I'm going to define a new file. We're going to just call it style.css, and we're going to say body is going to be pink, or background pink. Great, all done. And now the way that our loader works is as follows. We can use the import syntax and actually import the CSS into our JavaScript. So if we go here into our index, and at the very top we run import /style.css, and we do npm run build. Watch what happens. We get a lot of generation here, and our dist just has a JavaScript file. But now if we go ahead and open our file here, refresh it, the whole body is pink. And what magic is that? Well, these loaders are actually bringing in our styles into a style tag on the page. So JavaScript is putting this into the HTML and applying our styles. And so you might think, well, that seems kind of silly, Michael. I could just define a CSS file and link it up. Fair enough. But what this allows us to do is quickly embed external CSS. So let's say that we wanted to bring Bootstrap into our project. So before, we grabbed the CDN and we plugged it in there. Or we could np install the module and then link it, but all that's a little bit tedious. I'm going to go ahead and npm install Bootstrap. And if we go to Bootstrap and just type something like Bootstrap import, it's actually going to give us a way to quickly bring this into a build system. We look at the documentation. It says, hey, you could hook this up with CDNs. There's also man, this is not the right page. Bootstrap download. There we go. So CDN, npm. We could npm install Bootstrap, which I just did. And then bringing it in, it's not going to show you, but that's okay. I think I can figure it out on my own. We can just import it. So the way that we would go ahead and import it is as follows. Import bootstrap /dist /css / let's see what we have in there. Dist CSS, and then bootstrap.min.css. I think that should work. So now we can bring Bootstrap into our code, into our project, without having to do a lot of manual steps. We don't have to do a CDN. We can install it, which allows us to keep track of it in our package.json as a dependency. And then with the CSS and the style loaders, we can just import it into the project. And so we don't have to go add a link into the HTML. And so if we go ahead and npm run build, that's what I was afraid of. I wasn't sure if this would, let's see, how do we actually do this? Bootstrap. Well, looks like Bootstrap did have a page. I was looking for this. So if we just want to import the styles, we do import bootstrap dist CSS bootstrap.min.css. That's what I'm doing. Why is this acting this way? Boot. That's what I did. Boot. Spell stuff correctly, and then everything works. Blah-de-da. Well, that happens sometimes. Now if we refresh, you can see here that that button creator now looks bootstrappy. And if I start messing with the classes of my buttons here, button, and then button primary, just as if I had imported Bootstrap via CDN, we start getting some creative stuff, and we can go even more wild and look at the utils and have our random button add, or class list.add button and button danger. Let's see how that works. Whoops. It's gotta be separate, I think, button and then button danger. All right, let's try it again. And we're gonna have to also build it one more time. Okay. Hey, look at that. So pretty cool. That should be good enough for you to get the assessment done. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy.